Everybody, have a good looking crowd today. James Etheridge is going to come forward and do our national anthem.
Join me. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose cross stripes and bright star through the perilous night o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet for the land of the free and the home of the brave? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wes Grant has our invocation.
Right, yeah, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you again for all that you've blessed us with. Thank you for your grace and your mercy that we don't deserve. Thank you for your Son dying on the cross to give us eternal life. Lord, just as we go through our day, just help us to seek you in everything we do, but also not just to seek you, but to obey you. So, Lord, just be with us as we go through this week. Thank you for this club. Thank you for Josh and his leading this club and all those who have come before him. And Lord, just be with us and bless us through nurse bodies and bodies I serve. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Terry Duffy, family of Rotary.
Thank you very much, President Josh. Not to minimize the importance of the moment, but this is short and sweet. Birthdays, Michael Maddox. I know he doesn't look any older, but August the 18th. Anniversaries, Amanda and Jason Roy on August 15th. Hope you all have a great week. Thank you.
All right, Chris King is going to come forward and introduce our guest and visiting Rotarians.
We're happy to welcome our guests and visiting Rotarians. When I call your name, would you please stand and remain standing until all visitors are recognized? Watson Downs, guest of Jed Downs. Brett Richardson, guest of Wayne Palmer. Jim Ellis, guest of Bo Thaggart. Angela McNeil, guest of Bruce McNeil. Philip Brown, guest of Bruce McNeil. Are there any other visitors we have missed? Thank you for visiting with the Dothan Rotary Club today.
Mark Kristen, will you please come forward for the basket drawing? All right. 1,920 points. All right, last four, 6, 4, 7, 4. 6, 4, 7, 4.
Whoever came right behind me.
Eight of diamonds. Everybody's favorite person, Alan Richards, is going to come forward to talk about programs.
Thank you, President Josh. Good afternoon.
as you're aware, we're responsible for scheduling speakers. Actually, we're in pretty good shape right now. We have a few dates in September that have not confirmed. And all I want to do right now is just ask if anyone has a speaker, impactful speaker, that you would like to offer for September. We have a few dates available. And we can, if the others confirm, we can move them to another day. But I just want to ask if you have anyone who would like to offer someone as a speaker, your name will immediately be taken out of the hat for the next drawing. If you will, just please reach out to myself or Josh, and we'll make sure we schedule it and make sure you have credit for it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alan. All right, Kelly Pilot has an announcement she'd like to make.
All right, thank you, President Josh. It is that time of year. We're gearing up for our white elephant sale again. We will be having it, we're gonna go back old school. We're gonna have it in the fall. We're gonna have the football theme. So hopefully everyone liked that. We heard some rumors here and there, didn't like this, didn't like that. So hopefully everybody enjoyed that part of it, but it's gonna be October the 23rd here at the rehab center, in our normal room. And as usual, just remember, we ask that each member purchase an item for the silent or live auction, either one, and we kind of, the committee kind of determines which one those go in based on the value and based on what we have. But purchase something for at least a value of $100 or more. And then we ask that night of the auction that you come and you purchase an item with a value of at least $100 or more. And then the last several years, we have also been doing the raffle, and we do plan to do that again. And the tickets for those are $100. So right now, if there's anybody who just feels like you need to do something, you just need something to do, we're looking for people who are interested in volunteering for the committee. If you have served in the past, you will be getting an email from me. So don't run, don't hide, I will find you. But hopefully you can serve again. And again, we are looking for any new members, especially the new members that would like a place to serve. I think we have a good time. The rest of the committee may not think so, but I think so. But it is a great event, and we are looking forward to it. So if you have any questions, please let me know. But we'll be gearing that up and doing small things between now and that day. So thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. At this time, Dale Goodwin, will you please come forward?
Thank you. As your past district governor, I have a couple of things that I need to present today. The first thing I'd like to present is to James Etheridge, who served as an assistant governor this past year for me and also served under Bruce and is continuing to serve as an assistant governor. James? The next thing, as your past district governor, I have the opportunity, or I have certain privileges and opportunities. And it's an honor for me to have the authority to transfer district points to present a Paul Harris Fellow. And I have presented Josh one recently, but I have two others that I'd like to present. The Paul Harris Fellow recognition is presented to a person that contributes $1,000 or more to the Rotary Foundation in their name. And also, did you know foundation recognition points are awarded to donors who contribute to the funds as well? The donors, which are you as members, when you contribute, whether it's to the Purple Pinky Project or other projects, you are eligible for another Paul Harris Fellow. But you also have those points at your discretion that you can give them to someone else, or you can select somebody else from the club, or that doesn't have to be a member of the club to be a Paul Harris Fellow. So a lot of people don't know about that, but you have that opportunity. The international funds that are given to the Rotary Foundation serve for polio, vaccines, education, water supplies, and many other things. And this Rotary Foundation is your foundation as a Rotary member. So I have the honor of presenting the Paul Harris recognition to, I'll start with Bruce McNeil. He is receiving a Paul Harris +8 pin today. That means it's up to $10,000. And Bruce continues to serve our district in many different areas. Currently, one of his tasks is serving as district secretary. We have a district secretary which is out of the country, and Bruce has taken over all those things that he's done. Bruce continues to work on the Tuskegee project, where he started the Rotary polio project there in Tuskegee, and just this past week, he was in Tuskegee meeting with representatives from Rotary International. They were interviewing him for a video production that they're going to put out for Rotary International. Remember, we have 1.4 million Rotarians in Rotary. So just think of the people that will get to see our own Bruce McNeil up on the big screen for that. So that's very, very exciting. He currently serves as the Mid-South President-elect on the training committee. So he works with that board. He's a contact person for the district needs or for anything to do with Rotary International. Anything that comes up from the 48 clubs in our district pertaining to, I can't get on DAC-B, DAC-VB, I can't get to Rotary International. If they would call me and text me or whatever my year, I would put him in touch with Bruce and he would solve the problem. So he is still working very hard for our district. He served as district governor, assistant governor for many years, and he is a past president of our Dothan Rotary Club. So I want to thank you so very much for your service and being there to support our district. Thank you. The next person that I would like to present, a Paul Harris Fellow, is Angela McNeil. Angela is Bruce's wife. She has served the district for many, many years in being there to support Bruce. Angela has served on many community boards in Dothan and all over years, and she's made time to go the extra mile to make sure things were done in the right way. She's been very involved with her church activities. Angela and Bruce have 3 wonderful sons and 1 daughter that keep them very busy. And I think the grandchildren keep them plenty busy too. However, Angela has attended and participated in district conferences, the Mid-South Pets President-elect training, zone conferences, and Rotary International conventions. Angela is the lead chair on district and Mid-South Pets hospitality suites. She is the one that all the Rotarians, when they come to the conferences, of course, everybody likes to go to the hospitality suites. And Angela handles all that. She spends many hours planning, organizing, and setting up for these district events. She attended with Bruce on his district visits, 48 clubs, the year he was district governor. She did a lot of driving, getting to the hotels, did a lot. She, as those that Bob Rutter, going around it takes time. She's been there. She's also made many trips to Tuskegee with Bruce on the Rotary polio project. I felt like Angela, as your past district governor, was very deserving of this honor from our district to receive this Paul Harris Fellow with her many, many hours of service for our club and for the district. So let's all congratulate Angela. here is your Paul Harrison fellowship certificate. Oh, I'll let you fill in that.
This was a real professional taping that we went to in Tuskegee. They had brought down people from Rotary International from Chicago, and they had brought in this production company out of Atlanta. And it was so professional that they had to put makeup on Bruce if he had to wear makeup.
That was last Wednesday or Thursday.
It was Thursday.
And Rotary International is coming back to do some more interviewing with them. I think it
Congratulations.
was a
Liz.
surprise to both of them. I told Bruce about Angela, but I didn't tell Angela about me. Thank you.
All right, Jed Downs is gonna come forward now and introduce our guest speaker for today.
Good afternoon, good morning, whichever we consider right now, PM, afternoon. Today we got a guest, Jeff Porter. He is the editor-in-chief of 1819 News. Some of you, as I went around the room, I was introducing him, and several people were familiar with 1819 News. And in fact said, I read it this morning, or I just joined, or whatever. And so 1819 News is a new organization. It was started less than 3 years ago. And it was started to compete with AL.com. Not because AL.com is not printing stuff, they're printing. But it was in order to give the conservative, many of which are in Alabama, a conservative watchdog, a conservative voice, if you would. And so that's why 1819 News was started. And they have are continuing to reach a more and more growing population and viewership. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. It's good stuff. It certainly is conservative. And here's the reason, sometimes I think that hits people and say, okay, if y'all trying to, it's like Jesus, you're trying to jam Jesus down my throat. You're trying to jam conservative values down my throat. No, not necessarily, but we do know this, is that Alabama is a conservative state, right? And here's the deal that gets us going wild. It's Trump and Biden and indiscretions and how one's been done wrong, how one's not getting a chance. And so we're all consumed with watching. And when we turn on the news, that's all we hear. But what we don't hear a lot of is what's going on in Alabama. And here's the deal. There's a lot of stuff going on in Alabama that you, as a potential conservative, would be shocked at. And if you read Alabama 1819 News, you'll find out a little bit more about what's going on. Not concocted, it's real stuff. Why should we care? Here's the deal. We can do more locally than we can up in Washington. Okay, we got to send good people and whatnot. But if you hadn't noticed, I'm kind of giving a shout out for 1819 News, because there needs to be a local watchdog and people who are keeping us up to date on things. And we've got the Dothan Eagle tells us about the crime and the business openings and the utility stuff and this, that, and other. But there might be some other things going on. And we've recently read about one going on in our library here locally. Nobody else reported on it. 1819 News did, whether you care about it or not. And here's the thing, conservatives, if I say Alabama's conservative, we are conservative. That doesn't mean we agree on everything, right? But we agree on a lot of things. And a lot of things we need to know about no matter what side of the fence we're on. So that's 1819 News. It's more state and local than it is national. That's why I encourage you, and you are reading it, share that with your friends and co-workers and family to get the word out about 1819 News. One more thing about 1819 News. so far it's been a startup, but it is, and what they don't want to be is beholding to advertisers, right? And having advertisers tell them what they can print and can't print. And so if you go, somebody mentioned that they joined, I don't remember who that was, they joined recently. And so it's a $5 and $10 and $20. I'll be honest with you, I don't know why they had so many levels of it, but they do. But the important part is that if you care about these things, you support them, and and they don't have to draw so much from advertising. Okay, so that way they don't have advertisers come in and say you can't say this, you can't say that, I'm gonna pull my funds from you. That's how people get enslaved, right, to views. So I say all that to say, can I introduce our guest now? He'll tell you a lot about that and a lot about himself. Jeff Poor is the editor-in-chief of 1819 News. He's a longtime contributor of Breitbart News and a columnist for the Mobile-based weekly newspaper Land Yap in Mobile. He hosts the Jeff Poor Show. It's a radio show. It's broadcast Monday through Friday. Mobile Radio's FM talk show 106.5. He's has over a decade of experience in journalism and reporting on politics. He's previously reported for the Daily Caller, which y'all know was Tucker Carlson, who he worked side by side with, media research. He also worked side by side with Steve Bannon. He's a regular guest on Sirius XM Radio, Breitbart shows, FM, Fox Business Network, CBN, Fox Channel, Drudge Report, Washington Times, American Spectator. You would think he didn't come from Alabama, but he did. Shelby County, Alabama. He's reported in all 67 counties. He actually had, Wes, you and I, he shares in common a building science degree from Auburn. And like you and I, he barely made it out, right? Or like me, but he made it out. And journalism, he has a journalism degree from the University of South Alabama. So I introduce to you and ask that you welcome Jeff Poor, editor-in-chief of 1819 News.
First off, thanks for having me, Dothan Rotary Club. It's always a pleasure to come back. Representative Lee, thanks for hosting me once again today. It's great to get here and great to tell you a little bit about 1819 News. I'll tell you a little bit about myself real quick. Fill in some of the blanks that Jed had. I got to work with Tucker Carlson for 3 years. When he started the Daily Caller, best boss I ever had, and he really is the guy that you saw on TV all those years. Maybe a little more profanity than Fox would have allowed, but it was always it was an educational experience. I met my wife working for him. I still consider him a friend to this day. We text maybe weekly back and forth, so we keep in touch. But I started in a nonprofit in Washington D.C. called the Media Research Center, and it was kind of a media watchdog thing where we documented liberal bias on MSNBC or CNN, and then it got to a point where we were able to prove the liberals media. I mean, the media was liberal, and it became kind of a moot point at that point. So I moved on to go work at the Daily Caller. Did that for 3 years. That was about the time Tucker went on the TV. I got a call from Steve Bannon, who was he had just taken over for Breitbart. Adrian Breitbart had just died, if y'all know who that is, and said, "Hey, I want you to come work for me. You can live anywhere you want." We were living in D.C. My wife and I at the time had spent 8 years up there. I did, and we were glad to get out of the swamp because it really is not a great place. But ultimately got back in the Alabama game after the Roy Moore, Doug Jones U.S. Senate race. And I got to tell you, I've done the D.C. thing. I've done national politics. It's important to stay aware of it. But you have such a more meaningful impact when you get engaged at the state and local levels. Your quality of life is much more contingent on what goes on in Montgomery and what goes on in City Hall and in the County Commission than anything that goes on in Washington, D.C. I'm convinced. And you do notice it. And so Alabama politics is a fascinating place to be right now. It really is. I mean, the state's changing, different parts of the state, the politics are changing, and you know, we're kind of in this era, this populist era. The national politics is a reflection of what I think is going on here in the state. So like I said, I got back in the state game because I find it to be much, much more rewarding. But Brian Dawson called me. I was working for Yellowhammer News, if you're familiar with that. And he pitched it to me. He pitched 1819 News. And we kind of talked about, like, there's an underserved element in the state right now that the state is conservative, as Jed was saying. But it wasn't, there's not a media outlet for conservatives. And I'm not saying that, you know, opinion journalism is fine. It wasn't trying to preach to you the virtues of capitalism or free markets or any of that. It's just covering the news in such a way that it's stuff that conservatives or people of Alabama were interested in, because the state is conservative. So maybe it's less about the ideology and more about what is a reflection of the state of Alabama. So we're trying to fill that void at 1819 News, because right now the leading publication in the state, AL.com, they do a decent job with Auburn, Alabama football. They, but their news coverage, their politics is very left of center. And they do drive an agenda. They also write about things that probably a lot of you in this room would not necessarily care about. You're not thinking about environmental causes or social justice or any of these. You want to kind of know what's going on, but you don't want, that's not in your wheelhouse. You're more interested in the Second Amendment, our tax policy, our things that impact your daily life, and not these liberal tropes that are often, you know, pushed by the national media and now by your local media. So that was kind of the vision of 1819 News, is to serve an underserved audience. And I think this is a great time, because right now, Alabama politics, I've been doing this 20 years almost. Alabama politics is hard. From the Shoals down here, from Jackson County all the way to Mobile, it's a very diverse. People think of Alabama as this monolithic thing. It's not. The one commonality is that cursive A, everybody cheers for, University of Alabama. That's the one thing. But the state is made up of all these different communities, and they have different economic interests, different cultures, and you know, even agriculture is different. You know, some places it's chicken farming or pig farming or whatever. It's just different, and you can't paint it with one broad brush. So we're trying to be aware of that and cognitive of that, and cover the state in that way, and not just cover it from a Birmingham perspective, which is too often I've seen these startups come along at the state level and they focus solely on Birmingham. That they probably, a lot of people at AL.com could not find Dothan on a map. It's pathetic. So we're trying to play the way I described it to Brian, like a spread offense. And we're working on going to have a full-time reporter in this area. We had a guy for a little while. He worked for us for the summer at Enterprise, but we want somebody in this area. We're working on a Huntsville reporter. But we're a startup. Right now, we have two Montgomery guys. Both are kind of focused on the capital. We have a Birmingham guy, and we have a coastal person. She works out of Baldwin County and covers Mobile for us. So we're growing, and we're creating a lot of content, but we're trying to make sure we get the entire state are aware that there's different things going on in the different parts of the state, and they all kind of make up one Alabama, but there's doesn't mean that they're all the same. So that's sort of the approach with 1819 News, at least from under my leadership. We're going to try to do a better job with that, but keep an eye out. It's a work in progress, and I think there's a lot of things that need to be covered, need to be written about, need to be talked about to sort of fill that void. And we're going, that is the objective here. People may think it's not necessarily activism. We are conservatives. We do have these values, these cultural values at 1819 News that we really care about. But like, we could preach, we could write, we could opine, but the hope here isn't that you read something, our opinion, and then you change your mind. Your minds are probably made up. You're smart people. You don't need me to tell you how to think. You don't need any of that. You just need me to tell you what's going on. And then you can figure it out from there what needs to be done. You can call your lawmaker, you can call your city councilman, whatever it is. You can vote a certain way, but you need to know the facts. And our goal is to lay those facts out before you so that you can make an informed and educated decision. So that's essentially what we're trying to do with 1819 News. We feel like it's a very underserved area of journalism. Journalism is still important. It's a tough business right now. Since the death of print journalism, everything moving online, no one's really figured out the magic way to monetize it. So there's business challenges, but just know that like the objective here is to still kind of function in a traditional journalism sense, but it's also with the awareness that there are certain areas that aren't getting covered just because it becomes difficult to just from a business standpoint sometimes. But we're getting there, and I think we're in a good place. So please keep us in your prayers at c31819news.com. Real quick, I can give you kind of a political outlook. I think really need to watch this right now. What's going on in Birmingham, the federal courts with the redistricting. There is a possibility here that you could have a Dolphin Island and Dothan congressional district. And I don't think anybody over here wants that, and I don't think anybody over that way wants that. But there's a strong possibility a special master is appointed and redraws the maps. This is an important story. It'll change this state for decades, the way they draw these maps. That's going on in Birmingham right now. They'll probably be challenged, probably go all the way to the Supreme Court. But I think I can't underscore the importance of that. 2024, Trump, I don't know. I don't think DeSantis is going to be the nominee at this point. He just never caught on. Maybe he waited too late. He let Trump dominate the narrative. Just a little national politics for you there. I think it's a 50-50 jump ball right now. And the one thing that makes me say that, the New York Times poll last week has Biden tied with Trump 43% all in the popular vote. And if that's true, then Trump's going to win. If Trump wins the popular vote, it's over. He's going to win the Electoral College. And I don't know what that looks like, but it could be rocky times ahead if that's the case. It's either way, I think it's rocky times ahead in politics. And then statewide, real quick, and I'll wrap it up here, and I'll take some questions if anybody has any. I think 2026 will be fascinating. Governor Ivey's terming out. We're going to get a new governor no matter what. So Will Ainsworth seems to be the front runner right now. He hasn't announced, but he's already got the Speaker of the House's endorsement. Hearing some other names out there. Obviously, people are watching what Steve Marshall, our Attorney General, is going to do. No one knows that yet. Will Tommy Tuberville run for another term? Who's gonna land where? And we're going to get a new lieutenant governor. So there's a lot of interesting stories. And then probably back to redistricting. At some point, if this court case, this Milligan versus Allen now, Supreme Court case about redistricting stands, could get new legislative lines. We could have a whole new legislative map by the time that rolls around by the end of this quadrennium. So there's a lot of turmoil in Alabama politics. Just to lay that out for you, and the hope for 1819 News, make sure that we can stay on top of it. Convey it in a way that's easy for you guys to understand, easy for the public to understand, and make informed decisions. Like I said, we're not here to try to. I would hope personally that you would see things from a conservative standpoint, but the 1819 News just wants to serve that underserved audience, and you can make the best informed decision on your own. You don't need me to tell you how to think. So with that, I will take any questions or anything if anybody has it.
Other Ainsworth, who else do you see coming out for possibly running for governor on either party?
Well, Marshall's the one answer. I think John Merrill, the former Secretary of State, he's not done yet. And guys, the name I keep hearing people asking me about is Congressman Moore. If they draw him to the same congressional district as Jerry Carl, would he run again? What would that look like? might he take a stab at running for governor in 2026. There's some other names. I don't think that, I mean, like a Lindy Blanchard or somebody with deep pockets. I don't think Tim James would give it another run. But those are the ones. It's way, way, way early, but I mean it's already kind of a skill button.
How about on gambling? I hear a lot of stuff going on in gambling. Is anything happening?
So I had on my radio show today, Senator Albritton, Greg Albritton. He's the chairman of the general fund. He's also state senator for Apple or the Fort Creek Indians. He's going to be running point in the Senate. The problem with gambling in the state is you need a 3/5 majority to change the Alabama Constitution. The Alabama Constitution in 1901 forbids gambling; it's prohibited. And it seems like, well, why can't we just have a simple lottery? And that sounds reasonable and rational, but the problem is, it's just like I was explaining during my talk. You have all these competing interests around the state. You have the dog tracks. You have, like I said, BCI. You have just places don't want gambling. So to get a lottery, you're going to have to do comprehensively to get that 3/5 vote to change the Alabama Constitution. And even if you get that, it goes to a vote of the people. And I mean, when they tried it in 1999 under Don Siegelman, it got beat. And it got beat because Siegelman made a special election in an off-cycle year, and it allowed the anti-gamers to get organized. It allowed the Choctaws of Mississippi to get behind an anti-gambling effort and beat it. And the state's never recovered it, and that's been almost 30 years ago. So what do you do? And that's, I think this time the reason why there's a little apprehension is they want to make sure they get it right and don't repeat the mistakes with the past. But it's a heavy lift. You're gonna have to have a lot of consensus in Montgomery to get it. I think it's going to take the governor leading the way, but I don't think you're just going to get a simple lottery. It's going to have to be something bigger and more comprehensive.
What did you name 1819?
So 1819 is the year Alabama was founded. So that's the founding of Alabama.
This may sound like a silly question, but I had a conversation with someone recently, and I happened to use the word conservative, and this person said, how would you describe a conservative?
For me personally?
Yeah.
Well, I think you can break it down. I mean, so much of what we call conservative right now, I think, social conservatism sort of dominates that, right? And that gives license to a lot of things we see in the state that I don't, frankly, are very conservative. Just the way money's spent, the growth of government, et cetera. But we are socially conservative. I think you can break it down to different areas. I don't know that it's necessarily, I could describe it in a sentence or something, but I mean, traditional values, maybe biblical teachings and things like that on the social side. But for conservatives, I think it's just the point I would underscore: markets, limited government, your freedoms, your liberties, and preserving those. And right now, like I said, we're in a weird time, and conservative ideology and conservative politics, or this populist wave, has kind of taken hold, and it's sort of a pushback. I mean, Alabama's gone through these spells of populism in the past, Big Jim Folsom and whatnot, but it's sort of become part of conservatism with the Trump phenomenon. And I guess it started probably with the Tea Party and the pushback against a system that's designed for maybe the elites, ruling class, and guys like that. So conservative, I mean, I know that's kind of a long-winded answer there, but I think it just depends on what aspect you're looking at. Every issue kind of breaks down differently.
I gave him the short answer. I said, I believe in God, country, and Auburn, Alabama.
Corey. Yes, sir.
Do you see college graduates coming out needing one party or another, or one conservative or liberal, or do they?
That's the hardest part right now. I want to talk about finding people. We want to have reporters all over the state. Journalism, the academy, higher ed right now is just dominated by liberal professors. But it's always been that way. But the people that go into journalism tend to be left of center, I think. I went through journalism school, and that was my experience. And that's been a lot of my employees' experience who did went the same route. But it just seems to be more, not just like Democrat Party politics, liberal. I mean, they've gone way into Marxist ideology. And, if we could just make the world a better place, and we would adopt these. And communism has not been tried properly, and all these wacky thoughts about the environment. You used to mature in college and realize like your goofy thoughts about politics. They were fun to talk about, but they weren't practical in the real world. And now the graduates coming out of college never got to that phase. They're still at that like college newspaper phase. It's kind of weird to watch, but that's been a struggle with getting recent graduates, even conservatives, because they would be the same way, or libertarians, or whatever your ideology is. All right, well, I appreciate it. We're growing side. We're trying to better serve you guys.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Jeff, for bringing our speaker today. All right, next week's program, we have another Jeff. Jeff Koch with Chick-fil-A will be bringing the program next week. So looking forward to that. I want to say thank you to everyone that helped with the program today, the greeters, those that made announcements for us. Also, want to thank all the guests for being with us. Hope to see you again soon. With that, let's please stand for the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, do.
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Have a great week.